Hello YouTube, welcome back to the Basement Card Collector. Today's video is going to be a video response for a new channel that I came across in another video response, and I think that's just a cool way to get to know new channels and watch new content and meet some new friends in the community. So the channel we're going to do a video for today is a channel called Fast Breaks and Breakfast. And like I said, I'm very new to the channel. I came across them. I was watching another channel that I watch, and they said, hey, you should check this channel out. They're doing this VR. What is the VR? They are asking to see players in uniforms that you don't quite associate them wearing. And so they're calling it a cup of coffee, if you will. And so what I have are a few players, a manager, that have played for my favorite team, the Chicago Cubs. And there are players that are well known for being Cubbies, and there are some players that you just may not have known wore the pinstripes of the Chicago Cubs. For example, I'm going to go with some old school players, some vintage players. When you think of Leo Durocher, he was the manager of the Giants and the Dodgers, but he also, in 1969, and for a few more years, but I really like this card, he was also the manager for those Cubbies. Chicago Cubs, loved that 69 year, won some pennants with some other teams, but he also was the manager for the Cubbies. And I have one more Hall of Fame player that would go along with Hall of Famer Leo Durocher. He was a Philly Hall of Famer in my brain. He played in the 50s and retired, I think, as a New York Met. But when I think of this player, I think of the Philadelphia Phillies. But he also came over to play for the Chicago Cubs, Mr. Richie Ashburn. Two-time batting champ. Here he is on a 62 post. And again, nothing exciting on the back, but he was a Cubby for just a minute. You can see the stats are not that impressive. But he also had a cup of coffee with the Chicago Cubs, Mr. Richie Ashburn. And jumping into some more modern players, or players that I collected when I was a youngster. When I say the name George Bell, Jorge Bell, he was a slugger, big-time slugger for the Toronto Blue Jays. Here's the 82 Fleer. Here he spelled his name with a J, J-O-R-G-E. And later on in life, he actually came over to join the Chicago Cubs. And there for a minute, they had 3 MVPs in the lineup. And there's a really cool 91 Upper Deck with Sandberg, Dawson, and George Bell all kind of hanging on each other. He was a Cubby for a few minutes. George Bell. What about a 500 home run, 3,000 hit club member? He played with the Orioles and the Rangers, and then again with the Rangers, but he started out his career, here he is, and we see him here on the 2002 opening day Topps card. Great numbers, all those home runs, and not without some controversy as well, but he got his start back in the early days. We're going to call it a cup of coffee. He actually started out with the Cubbies in a really sweet mustache. Here he is on the 87 rated rookie. But Rafael Palmeiro, 3,000 hits, 500 home runs. And again, I'm not saying it's without controversy, but his numbers are really huge, and he got his start with the Chicago Cubbies. And a Hall of Famer, first baseman, played with the Blue Jays as well, but he played with the Braves, and he kind of bounced around at the end. Here he is on a Braves card. I could not find the Cubbies card, but Mr. Fred McGriff also played first base for the Chicago Cubs. He also had a cup of coffee. Here he is in that Bowman's Best kind of refractor style card. But he also was a Chicago Cub. We'll put him right here for now. And really, a really impressive list of relievers. So when you think of like the game's all-time greats, let's just go down in order. There was a 300 save man, and when I started collecting cards, he looked like this. 89 Topps, Mr. Bruce Sutter, 300 saves. But when he was a rookie, he was a Chicago Cub. Look at that, number 42, on the 77 Topps. As a very young Mr. Bruce Sutter, but he is also a Hall of Famer, and he started out as a Cub. So he got his cup of coffee back at the beginning of his career, and then he bounced on to the Cardinals and Braves and a couple other squads. What about this guy here? He is also a Hall of Famer. He came up back in 82 was his rookie, and a lot of his saves were 2 innings or an inning plus. And today, that's just not such a thing. But when he retired, he was the all-time saves leader. Here he is on a 92 Topps, big Mr. Lee Arthur Smith. But when he got started, 1982 Fleer. And this is also a rookie card. You can see there on the sleeve, but it also has the Cubs logo upside down. And I actually bought 3 of these at the same spot one time. And they all 3 have the logo just like this. So if you look, the letters of the Cubs are backwards. Lee Smith, Hall of Famer, pitched with several teams, but he got his, again, started off early with those Cubby teams. And let's go with another Hall of Famer, and I also have a really cool return of his, but he is known for having a really cool nickname. Really cool facial hair, like most of these other guys seem to have. How about Rich the Goose Gossage? Here he is on the 78 Topps. Just a really cool pose. Big, intimidating guy. Bring the cheese inside on a batter and not give 2 rips about it. He actually caught his Cubby career on at the end. And he is a great TTMer. Here he is on the 1989 Topps. So he also is a 300 save member. He also is a member of the Hall of Fame, Mr. Goose Gossage. And the last player we're going to show today for the VR for Fast Breaks and Breakfast, another reliever. And when you think of this reliever, you might think of the Oakland Athletics. Another sweet mustache. This must be a prerequisite. A all-time closer, a Hall of Famer. And when we think of him, I think of him as these A's. Here's 1989. Actually, it's the Tiffany 1989. Very glossy. But did you know he was also a Chicago Cubby? And I also got this card through the mail. Mr. TTM Dennis Eckersley was a starting pitcher back. Actually, he was with the A's and the Red Sox before he came over to Chicago and then went to Oakland to become one of those lights out relievers. But Dennis Eckersley was a Chicago Cub as well. We're going to put this autograph on the front. So there you go. That'll conclude my VR for Fast Breaks and Breakfast. I will leave a link to their channel. Like I said, I'm new to their channel. They're actually almost to 300. They were celebrating their 200 subscriber by doing this little contest. And now I'm looking here, they're at 274. So great job, guys. I do plan on watching more of your videos. Thank you. Thank you for the chance, and thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.